All right, so you have the first response coming in from America. The White House has released a statement, ladies and gentlemen, on Donald Trump being snubbed for the Nobel Peace Prize. Members of the Trump administration tweeting that the President of America will continue making peace deals, ending wars, saving lives. He has the heart of a humanitarian, and there will never be anyone like him who can move mountains, blah, 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 with the sheer force of his will. The Nobel Committee proved they place politics over peace. That's a direct attack on the Nobel Peace Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, it's war now. Trump administration has declared war on the Nobel Committee, saying that he prioritizes politics over peace. White House on Trump not receiving the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. The Nobel Committee, and ladies and gentlemen, we have the full statement. The Nobel Committee proved they place politics over peace. There you go. The fireworks have begun between the American administration, led by Donald Trump, the White House, and the Nobel Peace Committee. That's a breaking news update that we're getting in right now. The White House has put out details. It's put out a detailed statement on Donald Trump not being conferred or given the Nobel Peace Prize. And we are picking up the first response from the White House, which perhaps has been tracking the developments for the last two and a half hours, just waking up in America to the devastating snub by the Nobel Peace Committee that has decided that the peace president really doesn't deserve the Peace Prize after all. And there you go. Kritat is joining us live. Kritat, that's a tweet that's been put out. The White House has officially, with this, begun a war. They've now begun a war with the Nobel Peace Committee.
Well, the question, Niranjan, at the moment is that will Washington be able to make peace with the announcement of the Nobel Peace Committee? And the big question at the moment is that first reaction is in fact even coming in from the White House, where they are saying that President Trump is going to have a large heart and continue his humanitarian assistance around the world in engaging in stopping wars. At the moment, by Trump's own admission, he has failed to do so in the case of Russia and Ukraine, which he admitted that he thought would be an easier approach. The Gaza peace plan, however, continues to remain in focus, which is likely to be going into force on Monday and Tuesday, where Trump is expected to travel to Egypt and he is expected to make a formal signing of that deal, and it will be a full show fair, perhaps trying to pacify his ego there in this entire matter. And we will hopefully see the release of hostages in Gaza's custody, in Hamas custody, beg your pardon. But at the moment, we are waiting for an official reaction from US President Donald Trump. We'll be closely monitoring his Truth Social account, because that is the most likely place where he will most likely give out a tweet. He's already up and running. There have been multiple posts, but nothing so far. Complete radio silence from President Trump on Truth Social so far on his Nobel Peace snub. It is very interesting to see how Maria has won from Venezuela. The LOP has won. In fact, Trump in the past has been a supporter of her when she was arrested and she had gone out of public vision. She has not been seen, in fact, in public since January by the Nicolas Maduro government in Venezuela, and she has been missing since then. And Trump had at that time given out a statement supporting her, as Trump is vehemently against the Maduro government in Venezuela. There has been repeated action also taken against the drug trade taking place from Venezuela into the United States, the illegal drug trade that is, and there has been a crackdown against the Maduro government in that regard. So most likely it will not be an adverse reaction to the fact that Maria Machado has been given the Nobel Peace Prize. However, Norway is what our reports are telling us is bracing for some kind of repercussions, because just a few days ago Trump had given a very interesting soundbite in which he said that you will know once what happens if I do not win the Nobel Peace Prize. And we clearly know that he has been campaigning for this since January, and that's the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize of 2025, Maria Machado, on our screens, and those are our details. But Niranjan, at the moment, all eyes on White House and eyes peeled on the Truth Social account of US President Donald Trump.
Yes, I want to once again go through the spokesman of the White House. White House spokesman Steven Cheung has put out a tweet a short while back, and I'm reading from that tweet. He says President Trump will continue making peace deals, ending wars, saving lives. He has the heart of a humanitarian, and there will never be anyone like him who can move mountains with the sheer force of his will. The Nobel Committee, and here's the news point. The Nobel Committee proved they placed politics over peace. The White House officially has attacked the Nobel Peace Committee, saying they've put politics over peace. But going by even the claims that were made, let's assume for a minute that Donald Trump was eligible. First of all, no wars were ended before February, which was the deadline, February 1st. And even after that, the claims that he's made, Kritat, one more question. The technical, if you speak about technically whether he deserves the Peace Prize, he made claims of ending 8 wars. There were never 8 wars.
Indeed,
and he didn't intervene in all.
Indeed, and in fact, in the case of India and Pakistan, it is as transparent as it gets that there was no intervention. That is what Dr. Jaishankar also had clearly stated in the House of the Parliament, that there was only one interaction specifically with Vice President J.D. Vance, and there were no trade talks. And in fact, we have even seen in the last few days Donald Trump changing his tunes, saying that he did have a conversation, but now suddenly he does not want to give details of what that conversation was about. That is one of the 7. Obviously, we just saw a few days ago the Albanian Prime Minister walking up and joking with Emmanuel Macron there, and one of the leaders, I think it was the Azerbaijan's top leader, and joking that President Trump sort of mediated between the two nations. In fact, in one of the press conferences earlier, Trump had even mispronounced the name of Albania and Armenia there. So it is very questionable to what extent was his influence and actual presence in terms of mediating the so-called 7 wars that he claims. But convincingly, it has not worked with the Nobel Peace Prize Committee in this case. Despite of the deadlines being gone, he was vehemently campaigning for the last 7 to 8 months with every war, with every Truth Social post, on almost on every day. He wanted to join the ranks, Niranjan, of the legendary US presidents like Jimmy Carter. And in fact, even President Barack Obama, about him, he has talked a lot, in fact, in the recent months. And he has, in fact, even said that Barack Obama was given the Peace Prize, but I am not being given the Peace Prize. And he thinks that he's been being partial towards by the Nobel Peace Prize Committee in Norway. And certainly he's now the White House spokespersons also alleging a political angle here, saying that politics has been prioritized over peace. It's certainly going to be interesting on how the cards fall, because with Donald Trump, it's extremely unpredictable. If he really wants to make peace, then he can perhaps show by being a bigger man in this case and congratulate Maria and not be very hostile about it. He has 3 more years in office and perhaps 3 more shots at the Nobel Peace Prize. Niranjan.
Okay, thank you for that, Kritat. Here's what